Hi, this is Mary. I'm here today to continue to elaborate on the topic of delivering employee feedback. You might have seen one of my recent videos titled When You Want Them to Hear You Stop Talking, about how we tend to overtalk. And I mentioned something in there about one reason we tend to overtalk is we don't think we're going to be equipped to handle whatever they say back to us. And I called that baiting, or you could call it deflecting. Um, and I'll just illustrate it with an example. I had an employee one time, we were talking about his performance. We had talked for several minutes, and I must have said something like, "What do you think?" Because I really clearly remember the response I got was, "I think you think I'm an idiot." Now, that's the kind of response that we dread. And it's the reason we avoid giving feedback sometimes. It's the reason why we get nervous and overtalk and don't pause or don't ask questions. Fortunately, for whatever reason, in that moment, I was able to gather myself. And I want to tell you, you can take a moment and gather yourself when you get a response like that. And what I said to the employee was, "I'm really glad you told me that and didn't walk out of my office thinking that I thought you were an idiot. I want you to know that we're having this conversation because I want you to succeed." And I call that making them right. Sort of whatever they say that puts you on the spot or is meant to throw you back on your heels. Find what's right about that and find common ground to draw them into the conversation. So what I did with that employee, I called making him right, telling him I'm really glad that he brought that up and told me that. Another example I have is an employee who's a project leader, and she's not engaging her project team well. In fact, she disdains them in meetings, she shuts them down, humiliates them. And one response gotten from her was, well, my team members, they aren't very sharp. They're not equipped to do their jobs. And as a supervisor receiving that, making her right can sound like, "I'm really glad you told me that, because part of my job is making sure you have what you need in order to succeed and deliver on the objectives of the project and what the organization expects of you. We need to talk more about your team members. What would you think of talking about each one of them and what role you think they play and how they're fulfilling that?" I'm going to stop the role play now. I want to be really clear around that one. Number one, I made her right by telling her, "Wow, it's really important you tell me that. My part of my job is helping you to succeed." I owned my part of it. I want to be clear. I owned my part and nothing more. You notice I didn't agree with her that her team members weren't equipped. I invited her to tell me more about what she thought about that. And so hopefully I've given you a few examples of how baiting can show up and what making them right could sound like. Thanks again for listening to another tip, and I will be talking to you soon.